All right, take a look at Democratic turnout. This is compared to 2008. You've seen the double-digit increases for Republican turnout. To be fair to the Democrats, this was the same period at which Senator Barack Obama emerged out of essentially nowhere to challenge and ultimately triumph over Hillary Clinton. So comparisons can be difficult against that. Nevertheless, a lot more interest on the right with Republicans and participation in some states at all-time highs. So in the middle of this, we had Chuck Rocha. Of course, he's an advisor to Bernie Sanders, looking at all of this and wondering what to make of those who are telling Bernie Sanders to quit. What do you make of that, first off?
Well, I think it's a little unfair. I think Bernie Sanders has brought a lot of excitement. I think just if you look at the raw numbers, I know your program knows a lot about numbers, and think about the millions of people who've given that $27, who feel like that's a way for their voice to be heard, who want to fight back against a corrupt system in their mind, who really don't represent them. So there's no need for Bernie to stop now because half the delegates are still out there, and he trudges forward with not all of these big money bundlers behind him like you were talking about earlier, but literally millions of Americans who said they're sick and tired of being sick and tired.
Well, you know what's worse, and I know that we focus on the Republican establishment and how much they kind of poo-poo Donald Trump. It can be worse on the Democratic side. When I was hearing Debbie Wasserman Schultz talking to Maria Bartiromo about how pleased she was that Bernie Sanders was in the race. So why don't you react to this?
What is your reaction to how well Bernie Sanders is doing then?
Good. I'm thrilled. I mean, anytime we have a Democratic candidate who is bringing more enthusiasm and activists into the party, that's fantastic. It's going to bode well for when we launch our nominee from Philadelphia, whoever it is, so that we can make sure we can garner that support. This is a much less divisive primary than it was in 2008, and we unified and elected Barack Obama, and we will do so again with our nominee.
Which could explain why they've had so many wonderful debates at 2 in the morning on a weekend. But what do you make, I'm kidding, just to make the point, I don't know if she's all that thrilled. What do you think?
Well, I think that there's a lot of people upset that Bernie Sanders upset the apple cart. Let's be clear. Hillary's got all the best consultants. She's got all the best operatives. She's got literally every Democratic elected official in the country. And also, Neil, all of the progressive establishments, from the women's movement to the labor movement to the LGBT movement, all of the movements are behind her. And a 74-year-old socialist Democrat from Vermont is giving them all that they want. And so they're not real happy about it. And he's bringing lots of new people. Like you talked about the Republican vote being up in lots of states. In Nevada alone, 60% of caucus scores on the Democratic side were new. Where are the other Obama coalition Democrats at right now?
She's got more votes. I hear what you're saying, and I know this conundrum with the superdelegates. I think that is bizarre, but it is what it is. She has a big enough lead with conventional delegates. It swamps them when you add in the superdelegates. So I think there is this not-so-subtle pressure, Wasserman Schultz notwithstanding, with our Maria Bartiromo, to end it all, to say, why don't you quit now? You've made your point. There's no way you can win. Do you see any way Bernie Sanders can pull this out and win?
Right now, there's still a mathematical possibility that he can. You still have half the delegates that are out, Neil. You have California. You have New York. The superdelegates can change their, as you said, it's crazy. They can change their affiliation back and forth.
On her getting indicted, do you think that's part of the equation?
I don't. I still think there's enough mathematical numbers out there for Bernie Sanders to win and a lot of big states to go.
Really?
And there's still
but he
a lot
has
of time.
to win by a big margin, right?
He does have to win by a big margin, and some of the superdelegates have to switch their support, which they legally can do under our crazy rules.
Yeah, but that would have to follow like a domino chain of events that suddenly see him surging. He could do that, but again, it would have to be by such a margin that not only would he stack up delegates there. It has happened, you're quite right. But it's an uphill battle, to put it mildly, right?
Last night, they brought in the Democrats abroad. He picked up more delegates last night from Democrats living abroad. So he's still winning. We're going to have a good day tomorrow. I'm in Arizona right now.
But wait a minute.
We're going to have a good day tomorrow.
There are 7 of them. You need more than 7. I'm kidding. But
we'll take 8. We'll take 9. You got to add them up one by one.
I hear you. Let me get your take that settle or score deal. And I always, maybe in this Trump phenomenon here, we always think of deals. And that there are many Bernie Sanders supporters who say if Hillary Clinton looks inevitable, she's got to put him on the ticket. Do you think so?
Well, I'm not sure if she needs to, but there's one thing that she's got to do. I've been doing politics for 24 years. Bernie has brought together this coalition of people, a lot of young people. We all sit around, Neil, and talk about it's great for young people to click on the internet, but will they really show up to vote? And every year they don't. Well, for the first time in history, they are. How do we get them back? How does Hillary Clinton, if she is the nominee, bring them back into the fold? How do they take that Bernie Sanders message to excite people to be a part of whoever the Democratic nominee is? Whether he's on the ticket or not, he has to be part of the process if he's not the nominee.
I agree with you, and they ought to watch the way they treat him. I see more times, again and again, where these so-called ancillary candidates are kind of all but laughed off the stage. He has legions of fans, and I'd be careful how I handle him, you know?
Yeah, yep, absolutely. And when you're talking about empowering people, when the people come together, when you talk about fighting back against people who have an unfair advantage, that's a good thing for America to have this dialogue. How can we work harder to make America great?
All right, and to tax all of America while you're at it. Kidding. I just wanted to see what you would do. It's always good seeing you, Chuck Rocha. Thank you very, very much.
Thank you.